Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. I am New York State Attorney General Eric Schneiderman, and I'm extremely pleased to be here today with a great group of public servants and activists that are gathered here to talk about a new initiative that we are announcing for communities all across New York State still struggling to recover from the housing crisis. And my thanks to your great mayor, Stephanie Miner, for welcoming us here in the wonderful city of Syracuse. We're joined by other colleagues in government, my longtime friend, Senator David Valesky, Assembly members Bill Magnarelli, Pam Hunter, and Al Sturpey. We also have Mayor Billy Barlow of Oswego, Mayor Brian Tobin of Cortland, and joining us for the announcement are some true housing and community development champions, including Denise Scott, the Executive Vice President for Programs at the Local Initiative Support Corporation, which I'm going to be speaking about, Carrie Quaglia and Katie Bronson of Home Headquarters, and Caitlin Wright, the outstanding leader of the Greater Syracuse Land Bank, which I have to say is really one of the great success stories of our Land Bank initiative. These people are all vital partners in our effort to protect homeowners and revitalize communities all across central New York, which has been very hard hit, and there are a lot of communities still struggling to recover. It's been 8 years since the collapse of the housing market, but there is still more to do. And I've spoken about this before on a number of occasions, but one of the most persistent legacies of the housing crisis has been zombie homes, homes where the bank has begun foreclosure proceedings, the family has abandoned the property, and until very recently, the bank had no duty to maintain the property, and they were really blight on a community. You know firsthand here in Syracuse, they're more than an eyesore. They invite crime and threaten safety. They drag down the property values of all the homes around them. And I'm pleased to be here today to announce a new program to fight these zombies, which we call the Zombie Remediation and Prevention Initiative. Zombie Remediation and Prevention Initiative, or ZRPI, not Sturpey. And this program, in its initial phase, is going to provide $13 million for grants to cities, towns, and villages across New York State to deal with the scourge of zombie homes and to preserve home values and to make neighborhoods safe again. The initiative will help ensure that abandoned properties are maintained and help vulnerable homeowners so they don't abandon their homes in the first place. With this money, communities are going to be able to track and monitor zombie properties. Right now, it's very hard to even know the exact number of zombie properties. That's going to change. Local governments can beef up housing code enforcement by putting more boots on the ground to find and repair unsafe conditions. They'll be able to increase their enforcement capacity to ensure that banks and mortgage companies are complying with local and state law. And they can fund research and create pilot programs to address issues of abandoned homes and neighborhood blight. And equally important, communities that receive grants will be able to help families connect to the legal and foreclosure prevention services they need to stay in their homes. LISC, the Local Initiative Support Corporation, which is a great group, is going to be coordinating this program. And today, LISC has issued an RFP, request for proposals, to the municipalities who are most affected by the zombie epidemic. Grants are going to range from $75,000 to $350,000, depending on the size of the city and the scope of the problem. These funds come from a recent settlement that my office and the U.S. Justice Department reached with Morgan Stanley, which generated $550 million in cash and consumer relief for New Yorkers. In a few minutes, Denise Scott of LISC will discuss the grant program in a little more detail. But ladies and gentlemen, this new initiative really just reflects the ongoing work of our office. It started when I first took office in January 2011. Home by home, block by block, town by town, we were trying to repair the damage caused by reckless deregulation and the greed of some in the financial services sector that led to the bubble and the crash in the housing market. Starting in early 2012, I became the co-chair of President Obama's unprecedented federal state working group to recover funds from the banks that caused the bubble and the crash. Not that crash. And we've obtained settlements with banks totaling more than $90 billion nationally. And I'm happy to say that more than $5 billion that's come back to New York, some in the form of cash, which goes to the state fund, general fund, and these great programs to help families and to help local governments. And I will never forget learning when I first became Attorney General that there were about 350,000 families at that time facing foreclosure, and that more than half of them had never had the opportunity to speak to a lawyer at any point in the process. So with money from the bank settlements that we started to get as a result of the good work of our working group and good collaboration with our federal counterparts, the first thing we did was to set up the Homeowner Protection Program, or HOP, which provides legal assistance and housing counseling all over the state. We are funding close to 90 agencies statewide, which have already helped more than 62,000 families deal with these issues. And we encourage everyone who thinks that they may have a problem with their mortgage, they may be eligible for modification, go on our website and find a HOP agency near you. We also launched the Mortgage Assistance Program, or MAP, because we realized there were a lot of folks who were very close to being eligible for a loan modification, but they had some pre-existing debt on an old mortgage or something that prevented them. So through the MAP program, our HOP providers can make loans up to $40,000 and then that gets added on as sort of a second mortgage to get people into these mortgage modifications so they can stay in their homes. We've approved $18 million in loans statewide already. It's a relatively new addition to our programs and helped a lot of families stay in their homes. And of course, the land banks and the Syracuse Land Bank is really one of the great success stories. We now are funding 16 land banks across New York State. We have some new ones, including a group of counties in the Mohawk Valley Land Bank. We've dedicated more than $30 million to support them so far, and they are buying up properties. And I got, in the last 2 years here in Syracuse, I think you've acquired more than 1,000 properties, demolished about 100 unsafe structures, and put 270 properties back on the market as affordable housing for the families in Syracuse. So I'm pleased to be joined by my colleagues from the state legislature because the timing of this program could not be better, because we had a major victory in Albany this year. The legislature passed and the governor signed a bill that I worked on for several years to fight zombies. It's called the New York State Abandoned Property Neighborhood Relief Act. And Governor Cuomo has assigned the Division of Financial Services to work with us to set up a registry of zombie properties. And this act gives local governments, DFS and my office, the power to enforce some very important and pretty stringent regulations on banks and others who hold mortgages. They have to have a periodic inspection of properties to determine if they're vacant. They have a duty to register electronically. We'll have for the first time a database of zombie properties in the state. And they have a duty, if the property is abandoned, to maintain it and keep it in good repair until the foreclosure proceeding is finished. And this has really been a tremendously important thing. The folks in the legislature deserve your credit, and the governor deserves credit for getting this done. It is something that, once again, New York is showing leadership here, because there's no other state that has programs like the ones I'm describing to you now. And so I'm very proud of the work we've been able to do together. And now I want to turn it over to our fearless leader and your great mayor of the great city of Syracuse, my friend Stephanie Meiner.
Thank you. I want to thank the Attorney General for coming here to Syracuse to make this important announcement about this opportunity. I want to thank my colleagues as well in the state legislature and my fellow mayors for this. As the Attorney General is no stranger to Syracuse, and he is particularly no stranger to this issue. Most people, the single largest investment they will make in their life is in their house. And when a house next door or down the street becomes vacant, there is a fear that starts to pervade that street and that neighborhood about what's going to happen to the quality of that neighborhood. And in places like Syracuse, that fear can become pervasive. And when, as a mayor or as city officials, you can't fix that problem because they are stuck in this financial morass with lenders and banks there is no bigger frustration. But the Attorney General, as I said, is no stranger to this issue, and throughout his tenure has given us in Syracuse and other municipalities an opportunity to access resources to start to fix these problems. And when you can start to acquire these houses, tear them down, sometimes get new families into these houses, the kind of hopefulness and belief in neighborhoods and streets is also, it catches on. And there are so many times in government where it takes time between when you make the investment and when you can say it's been successful. This is one area where there is no delay. When you can fix that and deal with that zombie property momentarily, when you have the resources, the amount of hopefulness and the feeling of relief and the sense that government is listening and helping people's lives is immediate. And so for that, I want to thank the Attorney General for being a great partner and making sure that we give everybody an opportunity for equality, and that we make sure that the people who caused the crash also help pay for the consequences and help our families in the city of Syracuse and all over New York State benefit from that. So thank you for making this opportunity available. And as you know, we have a very successful track record here in Syracuse. I would love to tell you that's because the voters are the smartest voters in the city and in the state because they elected me. But now that I have term limits, I don't have to say that. I will tell you that the real truth is that we have been blessed with the opportunity of hiring very smart, committed people who have been able to take opportunities like you have given us and really maximize it for the people of the city of Syracuse. You referenced our land bank, which we're all very proud of, and everyone behind you here had a part in making sure that that land bank got off the ground, got started, continue to make investments. So when Assemblywoman Hunter was on the City Council, Khalid Bey, it was actually originally Senator Valesky's bill. Assemblyman Magnarelli has always been there for the city, and even though Assemblyman Sturpey does not represent the city, he has always been a great friend to the city. So I want to thank all of you for your partnership and listening to us, so that, again, at the end of the day, the reason we're here is to help solve people's problems. And this is one of the most important problems that plagues our city and our neighborhoods, and this is a way to solve it. So thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much. I think we're now going to hear from someone who I've worked with for a very long time on a lot of issues, and getting the zombie relief bill passed in the Assembly was not so hard, but getting it done in the Senate took a lot of work, and Senator David Valesky worked very closely with the bill's sponsor, Senator Jeff Klein, and they really stuck to their guns and got this done for all of us. So, my friend and your great Senator David Valesky.
Thank you very much. I'm happy to be here, and I want to thank Mayor Minor not only for hosting this, but really she does deserve a lot of local credit here in the city of Syracuse around this issue, and has done a lot with many people who work behind us. Let me just make one brief comment, and I certainly appreciate the acknowledgement of the Attorney General of the efforts in the legislature and the governor, who was here a couple of weeks ago to sign the bill into law. But as he indicated, and many of you remember, the Attorney General and I were colleagues in the Senate. We happened to have been colleagues together at the time of the foreclosure crisis. So the Attorney General is a bit modest, frankly, when he talks about his efforts. He has been at the forefront of this issue from a time preceding his time as Attorney General, and he has been on this issue, the specifics of zombie properties, the development of the land bank process, since before he was elected as Attorney General. So we're happy from a legislative perspective to really move the ball forward this session on the legislative front, but you identifying those settlement dollars and putting this process into place, not only for Syracuse, but for many of the smaller communities all across upstate New York. It's going to make a big, big difference. So I want to thank you personally.
Thank you. You do have smart voters here, because they have given you a good set of representatives that do work well together, which is not always true in every jurisdiction around the state. You're well represented in Albany, and so I'd now like to call up another one of those heroes, Assemblymember Bill Magnarelli.
Thank you, Attorney General. I want to thank the Attorney General for visiting Syracuse again and for his leadership on the issue of zombie properties and urban blight. In the past few years, the Attorney General has made significant investments in Syracuse by providing funds to the Syracuse Land Bank. These funds have helped the Land Bank to demolish blighted structures, have helped return other properties to productive use, and have provided resources to keep families in their homes. As the chair of the Assembly's Local Governments Committee and a resident of Syracuse, I know the problems of zombie properties firsthand, just as the mayor has alluded to. The Local Governments Committee has worked hard the last few sessions, passing legislation to give our land banks new tools to fight these problems. The Attorney General's new Zombie Remediation and Prevention Initiative, will provide additional resources to the upstate municipalities to continue this effort. And it will build on the significant accomplishments of the past legislative sessions. Last month, the legislature passed comprehensive legislation already alluded to by the Attorney General that will provide the Attorney General and municipalities with new tools for holding banks accountable for maintaining properties in foreclosure. This legislation would not have been possible without the leadership of the Attorney General Schneiderman. He proposed the original legislation that became the cornerstone of this new law. Again, I want to thank the Attorney General for his dedication to fighting zombie properties and urban blight. This continued investment will make a significant difference in revitalizing upstate communities like Syracuse. I look forward to continuing to work with him on these efforts and with Mayor Minor. Thank you.
Thank you. And now another great partner in government, Assemblywoman Pam Hunter.
Just briefly, I really want to thank you for this. I think the housing crisis has been one of the #1 quality of life issues that we face here in not only the city of Syracuse, but some of the other districts that I represent. And zombie properties know no bounds. There are zombie properties in every community in Onondaga County. This money is a great start for us to finally tackle some of the issues that the banks have left us with. You know, houses that are boarded up. We're using local resources like the fire department, like code enforcement, to go to these homes to make sure that they are safe, that there's not water issues, that there's not vermin issues running around. And so putting the responsibility on these banks to make sure that they take care of the property, but giving resources back to municipalities in order to help them take care of some of these problems goes a very, very long way. So thank you very much, Attorney General. Thank you.
And rounding up our legislative team, we'll now hear from Assemblymember Al Sturpey.
Thank you. Sometimes when I come to Syracuse out of my district, I feel a little bit like Admiral Stockdale, the 1992 vice presidential candidate for Ross Perot. You know, who am I and why am I here? But two things I want to say. I approach the office that I have as more a regional office. And when the region isn't firing on all cylinders, it takes away from the whole area. And one of the most important areas is the city of Syracuse. This is really the heart. If the city of Syracuse isn't showing well to the rest of the world when they come here, then Central New York isn't thought of very highly. So it's very important that issues in the city get taken care of. And secondly, as Pam said, it's everywhere. On my street, I have a house that has been abandoned for 8 years, has been painted for 20, and the grass is about that high usually. And then right across the street is a house that nobody sees anymore because the vines have grown over the top of it. So only the people from the neighborhood know there's actually a house there. But there are lots of things that could be better, and I want to thank the Attorney General for this, and hopefully after they clean up the city of Syracuse, they can come out to the town of Cicero. So thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. And now to wrap up, then the person who actually knows more about this than anybody else, the Executive Vice President for Programs at LISC, Denise Scott.
Hi, it's really good to be here, to be in Syracuse. Mayor, thank you for hosting us. I want to start by thanking the Attorney General for his commitment to this effort. As others have said, the Attorney General's office has been remarkable in working all around on foreclosures and on every layer of the issue, recognizing how deeply this issue has scarred many communities. And his staff and he have become true community development advocates. And we totally appreciate your work. And as I shared with the Attorney General this morning, as I travel around the country, I say to his colleagues, you should do it the way it's being done in New York. It's really important that this work get done, and our job at LISC is to make sure that the dollars that have been set aside, the $13 million, gets out to all of the communities that need the money and that it gets out quickly. So starting today, you'll be able to go on our website at www.lisc.org and get all of the information that you need. There's also information here that we'll leave with you in order to learn the process fully and how to get the dollars. We're expecting applications to come back in by August 16th. So our goal, we committed to the Attorney General that we would get this money out the door very quickly. The $13 million funds will go to municipalities that have at least 5,000 residents and more than 100 vacant properties. But we anticipate that there are about 100 cities, towns, and villages that will qualify. And as you've heard, the grants will range in size between $75,000 and $350,000. And it's to be used for the purpose of working on, focusing on the zombie properties. And the whole program has really been designed in a very flexible way to help you address your needs. So there are a variety of uses that you could consider. Grants could be used to support outreach to homeowners who need help in navigating foreclosure. Others might find that it's more useful to use the money to map in order to track vacant properties and then better target local resources. And still others might find that code enforcement is the right way to go. We're also hoping that we will we'll learn about some really innovative approaches that will come from you that we can apply as models in other parts of the city, other parts of the state, and really maybe even nationally. So as the Attorney General mentioned, this is funds that come from the settlement with Morgan Stanley. We've actually LISC has worked with Morgan Stanley on home housing and economic development programs before. But we believe that this effort, led by the Attorney General, will for LISC become probably the most important program that we've ever been involved in, because we're really going to be helping to revitalize communities. So I'm really looking forward to working with all of you. As I said earlier, visit us at www.lisc.org, and let's get this money out the door to you real soon. Thank you.